right, everybody, and now we're going to go to the NFL side of things, mainly my Oakland Raiders, and just go ahead and talk about, what the last 5 weeks can look like. In my honest opinion, I try to be more realistic than anything. I'm definitely close games. I'm going to have to try to give the nudge to my Raiders, but if I think they're going to lose a game in this next 5, I'll go ahead and say it. I don't have a problem with trying to be realistic here. That's a huge part of being a talk show. You got to be able to tell both sides. So here we go. The Week 13 matchup with the Oakland Raiders going against the Buffalo Bills. They'll be at home. The Raiders will, so that's definitely something that should be a good game. It should definitely call for a good game. The Raiders are 9-2, both losses coming at home, which is a little saddening, but that adds a little extra pressure to this game, in my opinion. And then the 6-5 Buffalo Bills, who don't look super great, but they don't look bad either. I mean, they're 6-5, so they've had a tough schedule. But there's definitely this is a game that could be a shootout, and it could be a little scary for the Raiders and their poor defense. I'm just looking at some quick stats. The Raiders, I mean, I said it yesterday, are one of the most exciting offenses in the league and can score with just about anybody. They are 5th in the National Football League in scoring. They average 27.9 points a game. So definitely the scoring should be there. And Buffalo is 8th in the league at 25.5 points. So realistically, this game should be a high-scoring game. It should definitely bring some fireworks. And most likely, I'm gonna go with a Derek Carr late fourth quarter drive to set him up for a winning situation. So I think what really comes down to is the defensive side of the ball, which it looks like neither team plays all that great. But Buffalo does play way better defense than Oakland, and that shouldn't be a surprise to anybody, really. The Raiders are 23rd in points per game at 25. They're 29th in defensive yards at they almost allow 400 yards a game. So that is not a good start for the Raiders. They also go 28th in the league in passing yards at 273 a game, and they're 26th in rushing yards at 116. So defense definitely has to step up. And if you were watching the Raiders-Panthers game last week, you can tell the Raiders are trying to help the defense out. Last week, it took a huge strip sack from Khalil Mack in the last minute 40 to secure the win. Otherwise, in my complete honesty, Carolina was going to come back and win that game. They were cruising down the field. It was 4th and 10. But the way Oakland played that whole drive leading up until that 4th and 10 was absolutely awful. They sagged back, tried to go 6-7 out in his zone coverage, and Cam Newton, who has done a lot better becoming a pocket passer more than a runner and then a passer. He's really working on getting that passing side of things freshened up and polished. He definitely looked pretty. It looks pretty good on that last drive. He hit a couple 15-yard passes, got good chunks of yards, kept it on the outside of the field. So they did all that with one timeout, and they had to use it on what would have been a delay of game. Carolina got a little slow out of the huddle there, so Newton was forced to burn his last time out way earlier than what he really intended it to. But I thought if that 4th and 10 and Khalil Mack didn't come up huge, it would have ruined the season in a way, because Kansas City won last week as well against the Broncos. It would have definitely added a whole new perspective to the AFC West, but Khalil Mack did a great job that last possession to get the strip sack on 4th and 10. and secure the win. For Buffalo on the other side, they play pretty decent defense. They're 13th in the league in points, allowing 21.5. Okay, they're 10th in defensive yards allowed per game at 341, which doesn't sound. 340 yards is a good amount of yards, but when you're comparing that to the Raiders, almost allowing 400 a game, that's pretty good defense there. And 29th, and then 10th best in the league are the Bills. And then passing, this is going to be the best matchup, I think. This matchup between Oakland's passing offense against Buffalo's secondary is going to be the deciding factor on who wins the game this week, because the Bills only allow 227 passing yards, which is 8th best in the league, which is huge because that they play in the AFC North or East. They face Tom Brady twice a year, so that already there. If you can hold Brady to about 220 yards, you should have a chance. And they faced the Patriots before Tom Brady, I believe. No, it was actually his first game back, and they shut him out. So that obviously goes to show that they have a really good pass defense, because Tom Brady's not no slouch at the quarterback position, especially after being off for 4 weeks. Yeah, he didn't play and get the game speed in the first 4 weeks, but I believe he was allowed to practice. So still, he was getting his reps. He was getting, the timing down. He knows the offense. He's Tom Brady, one of the best in the league. So to shut him out at any part of the season is a huge feat. So that should be the deciding factor. And I think Latavius Murray for the Raiders has to have a good ground game, because Buffalo, like I said, 8th best in pass defense, but Buffalo is 21st in defensive rushing. They allow 114 yards compared to the Raiders' 116. So I think the three-headed monster between Richard, Washington, and Murray really need to get going with the running game, and that'll set up Derek Carr's play action and hit the deep pass to Crabtree and Cooper and Walford. Sorry, drew a blank. So this should definitely be a good game, and that one should be interesting. I'm going to go ahead and give it to the Raiders. I think they're going to come back and win because of the running game, and Murray's going to run into a couple big runs. Spring the offense, spring the possession, and get that play action involved. If they get that play action involved, I think Derek Carr is going to do a great job of picking apart the secondary that we've already seen is tough. So I'm going to go with a Raiders victory of 33. I'm going to go almost identical to last week's score. I'm going to say Oakland 35, Buffalo 28. We'll go 31. I think they're going to get a late field goal. The Bills will, and make it interesting. I believe Oakland will be losing going into the last 4 to 5 minutes of the game, and Derek Carr is going to do what Derek Carr does and show that leadership and that great poise and just being an absolute stud and being clutch and drive down the field and go get us a win. And that'll move the Raiders to 10-2 and hopefully a 2 games up over the Chiefs and the Broncos. And then we'll go to week 14. You got the Raiders going to Kansas City, which Arrowhead is one of the toughest places to play in the league. So that game should definitely be tough. Kansas City is one of the 2 losses the Raiders have on their L column this year. So it should definitely be a really good game. That's a Thursday night game, so both teams will be on the short week, which will make it a little bit more tough. But right now, the way the Raiders are playing, it's really hard to go against the Oakland Raiders. Whether you're a fan or not, realistically, you have to be surprised with the Raiders. You have to be pulling for them a little bit, even if you're not a Raiders fan, just because of how well their offense is. people love offense. They love scoring. They love, the big plays. They love the Amari Cooper for 65 yards. They love the Michael Crabtree for 70 yards. People are just drawn to big offensive plays, and that's really what excels the Raider offense. So, this is definitely going to be a good game between the Chiefs and Raiders. And it's going to be cold. It's going to be a cold game. That's going to be on December 8th in Kansas City, Missouri. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's even a little bit of snow on the ground when that game goes to Arrowhead. And Kansas City plays great defense, at least, well, not looking at the stat-wise, but they're 28th in defensive yards, 20th in pass, 29th in rushing, but they only allow a 19.5. That doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me. How are you, I guess, that bad at defense, but you're only allowing 19.5 points a game? That's not even 3 touchdowns, and that's 8th best in the league. So they're definitely that bend but don't break mentality in Kansas City, but Oakland can definitely put that to the test, and I think they will. It's going to be another nail biter, but you know what? I find it hard to believe Kansas City beating Oakland twice. Oakland comes out on top, moves 11-2 with a 24-17 victory. And then back on the road, the Raiders go for week 15, going to San Diego. And Phillip Rivers has always been a thorn in the ribs of Oakland. But you know what? This team is just something else, something special. The last time they played, 34-31 Oakland. That was back in week 5. I really don't see Phillip Rivers doing a whole lot, with what he lost Woodhead early in the season. He's lost, he's lost a key receiver. So this is a completely different team than what the Raiders faced at the beginning of the year. So I'm going to go with a big blowout win here for the Raiders. Let me see if I can quick check. Nope, I'm going to go with a big Raider victory in Week 15 again at San Diego Chargers. I'm going to go with a 35-10 win over the San Diego Chargers. And then we get to the nitty-gritty. The Colts go to Oakland in Week 16, and then that'll be a huge game. Andrew Luck missing a lot of his pieces. I don't see Andrew Luck and possibly a team that's going to miss the playoffs beating the Raiders. And then I'm going to go with a 31-20 score. Raiders win and move to 12-2 or 13-2. Sorry, and then going to Denver to end the year. Von Miller is an absolute freak, but based on what Oakland was able to do against Miller and Ware and that tough defense, Simeon has been playing well, don't get me wrong. He has been playing a lot better recently and starting to really get into his own there, but I simply don't see it on all the momentum. The Raiders still haven't lost it on the road, so that definitely goes in their favor. Their biggest test of that will be Week 14 against the Chiefs. But I'm going to go with the Raiders win. I'm going to go in an absolute shootout, 42-38, Raiders win over Trevor Siemian and the Broncos, and the Raiders will clinch first place in the AFC and go 14-2 on the year and make a deep push. The only problem I have with the playoffs is Oakland's defense. They really need to step up in that, but I'm just about out of time, so thank you guys for listening to the Raiders Outlook, you could say, or my prediction. Yes, it is biased, but you know what? It's my show, and I'm allowed to be. So, once again, go Raiders. Hopefully a 14-2 mark, first in the AFC, but 9-2 so far, and it's only going to get better. Week 13 against the Bills. I'm TJ Perneda. Thank you guys for listening, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.